Turn that on. Minimize that. Close that down.
I made it work with the meeting maybe. Valid. Well.
Okay, so who all do we have on the call? We've got Lynn from Tryon. Who else do we have?
This is Tiffany with Tryon. It says Denise, but I don't know why it says Denise when I log in. It's really Tiffany.
Okay. And then I heard Craig.
Yes, Craig Sherman's here from Tryon.
And then it'll be Anita with Driveline.
So do we have anyone from Driveline on yet?
Anita's here.
Anita, okay.
You can see his screen now, Anita? Did we lose you, Anita?
I'm here.
Can you see Nate's screen?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, Nate is from Swipeclock, and he's going to be doing the demo and answering all your questions today. So go ahead, Nate.
Okay, I was just trying to find some previous notes here. See if I can find any. And
Anita, do you remember the demo that we did previously?
Nope, not one bit. When we determined it was all that stuff.
Okay.
I don't have this. I definitely have Kelly Bundy syndrome.
Not a problem. Well, let's do this then. Let's just start fresh, Anita. So, timekeeping. Tell me what you're looking for.
The ability for some people to clock in and out at their computer, the ability for about 5 people to clock in and out on their mobile phone, the ability to track PTO, the ability for managers to approve the time and the time off. We'll start there.
Did you say that was it?
I said we'll start there. I'm sure there's other things I know what I do, which is a very cumbersome process that I'm sure that there's a gazillion better ways to do it, but it's how I've been doing it for 15 years.
Okay. Well, tell me your process. Tell me your process from start to finish. So I'm an employee. I arrive at work. How do I clock in and out right now?
So if you're in the Capel office, we have a time clock.
Okay. Like a piece of hardware?
Yes.
Okay.
If you're in the Tetherball office, I think they used to have a time clock, but I think that they just use basically the honor system and they write down what time they came in. So they use little time sheets that they fill out and their manager approves.
Okay. Managers approve.
And then if you're not in one of those 2 offices, and you're hourly, you send an Excel spreadsheet timesheet to HR every 2 weeks.
So hourly and spreadsheet.
So I get an import file from our payroll company that has all of my employees and a whole bunch of other stuff. I collect all of these timesheets as well as all of the PTO requests that are sent into HR individually. I have another person who tracks those and puts them in a spreadsheet. And then once we get everything collected, I also go into our smart system and pull the time for about 5 people.
Okay.
We fill out the spreadsheet, go over the PTO, and submit it back to payroll, to the other company, and we go over it and then we make adjustments for a day, and then we finalize it on the third day.
So how many times are you sending the information back and forth between?
I only send my spreadsheet to the other company twice. I send it on the first day with the bulk of it,
Okay.
and then as we come up with things, if somebody gets termed, if we realize somebody turned in their time wrong, any other things that we do, we kind of talk about on the second day.
Okay.
Then on the third day, I send my per diem file over, and so that's sort of the final spreadsheet. And generally, it doesn't have anything that she didn't already know about, but I just document it all on that last spreadsheet.
Okay.
I
Well,
really only send a spreadsheet twice.
Okay. Well, twice is once too many. So by the end of this call, I hope it's an ear-to-ear grin, because you're going to love how this system is going to save you oodles of time, as well as consolidate everything. So whether they're using a piece of hardware, we can still go that route. Whether you want them to use a computer, certain individuals you want to use a mobile phone, doesn't matter what clock they use, it's all going to come together in an online manager's portal. So everything is cloud-based.
We also have 5 different PTO policies that apply.
Not a problem. Not a problem. You just tell us what those 5 policies are, who they apply to, and how they operate, and we tell the system, ready, set, go. You can come over the top and adjust totals, but you can't change the policy. That's you. You can't change it, but we can, right? So nothing is set in stone in our system. And I would say 90% of our clients grow into this system the more they use it, because they just find better ways to, improve their process. So this system is extremely user-friendly. It's very accessible. So you don't have to be at the office. You can be at home on your computer. You can be on vacation and there's an emergency and you need to process payroll. Done. Right? It's all cloud-based. Employees, we just decide what clock or clocks we want them to use to collect their time. If you want them to manually record their time, we can do that. And they can do that through a mobile phone. They can do it through a computer or a tablet. And again, it doesn't matter. It's all going to pool together in a central portal. Now, in that central portal, for managers, you will have different access levels. So an admin is going to be able to review everything, turn features on or off for different employees, as well as configure certain things. If you wanted to help your process and consolidate some of your reviewable process, you can separate out locations or departments and give managers access to just a group of individuals. And they can manage those individuals as far as time cards go. They can help manage mistakes, get the time cards ready so that when they submit them to you, they're ready to go. You're just reviewing it one more time, and heaven forbid if you need to make another adjustment, you can do that, right? But for the most part, by the time all these time cards land in on your plate, it's just a quick 30-second review and you're done. Okay. Employees, they do have a portal that allows them to view their own information. So they've got a time card that they can track their own hours. They can't make any edits. That's only for management only. But they can send notes. So if they forget to clock in or out, if they make a mistake, just send your manager a note so he can fix that mistake without having to chase you down, right? So if you forget to clock out, go find the day and let your manager know what time you left or what time you got here. There is an approval process for the employee time card, but it's not mandatory. So all of our approval processes are not mandatory in the way of preventing you from processing payroll. So it's more just a useful tool to ensure that employees are aware of their hours worked, supervisors and managers are aware of their hours worked, and everybody's on the same page, so there's no discrepancies on hours worked versus hours paid. Okay.
Okay.
Hey, would you guys do me a favor? Would everyone go on mute? I'm getting some feedback here, but at any time, just unmute, interrupt me, ask me a question. That way I can understand myself a little bit better. Thank you very much. So everyone can see my screen, I imagine. So let's just dive into this. And again, just feel free to unmute because I hate monologuing, so I want this to be a conversation. I am recording this session, so I can provide you a copy if you need to send that to your team. But let me dive into this, and we can start at time clocks. So you mentioned that one of your facilities does have a piece of hardware. Is that a route that you would like to continue to go down? Is using a piece of hardware?
No, we want them to be at their computer, on their desk at their computer when they clock in, so that they're not rushing in the door at 8 o'clock and hitting the time clock. They have to be there and at their desk at 8 o'clock to start working.
Okay. Then let me go to the web clock, and I just keep this bookmarked on my home page. So I recommend employees do that as well. So that way they can sit down, they hit their bookmark, they're going to land on this login page. We're going to assign them credentials, and if they just need to clock in and out, they hit web clock, and then a clock will pop up, and they can make their selection, clock in. Right? Additional information can be gathered if we need to know what location they're working in, if there's a particular job that they're doing, if there's an invoice. These are just custom clock prompts is what we call them. And if you don't need them, we turn them off. They hit clock in, and it'll clock them in, and then it will automatically reset them. Okay. There is a timeout on this web clock. So if I open this up and then I get called to do something, this will time out in about 25 seconds as a security feature. So that way another employee can't come up and mess with my time card. Okay, but you'll notice that I'm already clocked in. So the system recognizes when employees are clocked in. So it's going to eliminate multiple punches, reduce mistakes. What they can do is clock out. And if we need to track lunches or breaks, we can turn these two buttons on, and that will allow employees to tell you when they're starting a lunch and when they're ending a lunch, and management can track the specific date, the time, as well as the duration. Okay, so do you need employees to clock in and out for lunches at this point?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Lunches and breaks, yes. Okay. As far as the clock prompts go, did you have a need to collect information when employees punch in or out, or is it just tell me when you're here, tell me when you take lunches and breaks, and tell me when you leave?
At this time, just the initial, but if it's available, we may want to use the other in the future.
Absolutely. It's just a simple configuration. So 6 months from now, you need it, dial us up, say, here's what I need. We turn it on. There's no cost, and we're good to go. Okay, so that's the web clock. Super, super simple. We can restrict it by IP address. So if they're at home and they try to access this clock, it's not going to work. They have to be at the office. They have to be in the right network. Okay, what will work if they're at home is the employee portal. So if I'm sitting at home and I want to check my PTO hours, or if I want to see how many hours I've worked for this pay period, I can log into my portal. There is the option to clock in and out if they're at work at the right location. So I could do that, but again, if I'm at home, it won't work. There's a message center here. We can send them messages, whatever you would like. It can be automatically sent, or you can do it on the fly as a manager. And then up at the top here, I've got my different links. So the first one is my time card. So this will show each employee their own time card. And again, they can't make edits or adjustments. They can just simply view, okay, here's what time I clocked in, here's what time I clocked out, here's how many hours I worked. And then you'll notice a mistake. So if they do forget to clock in or out on any given day, I can't change this, but I can send management a note and say, hey, I forgot to clock out. Wow, I can't type today. Left at 4 p.m. Please fix. So now I can send this note to my manager and he doesn't have to chase me down. When he's reviewing my time card, he can see, oh, okay, Harry left at 4. I'm going to quickly go in and make that adjustment right now. All right, so just bettering the process, streamlining that process. When it's fixed, that's what this strikeout will represent. So employees can see that an edit was made and there's no question about it there. Okay, everything is totaled out for them down at the bottom. So there's no questions, there's no human error, there's no arithmetic. We're going to collect hours down to the minute if we want to, or we can do rounding. So it's up to you, if they clock in at 7:06, do we record 7:06 or do we round it down to 7? If they clock in at 7:08, do we record 7:08 or do we round it up to 7:15? Up to you, right? Those are just rounding rules. Okay. Up in the far right is their approval button. So at the end of each pay period, I can come in here, review my time card, address any mistakes, wait for management to fix it. And then down at the bottom, so if I go back a pay period up here on the left, I can toggle back. And I can look at last pay period. So everything will be shown. I can see that I've got a missing punch, but let's say for this example, everything's correct. My total's down here at the bottom. Everything looks great. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to approve it. And what will happen is this approval column on the left, S is for supervisor, E is for employee. It'll put a check mark next to the employee box. So my manager can see that I've gone in and said, yep, I agree with the hours worked. I'm not going to fight you on it when I get my paycheck. When my manager approves it, there will be a check mark in the manager column all the way down. Okay, so very simple, very easy. They can print it if they want to. You can even add like a signature line to it and acknowledgments. I've got some clients that still like to print out time cards and have their employees sign it. So if you'd like to do that, you very well can. Okay, now on this time card here, you'll notice I've got vacation. And if I go back one more, I've also got my holiday. So we are going to automate that entire process for you. We can populate holidays on the time cards. You tell us, yes, we pay for holidays, and here's who qualifies, so that it will automatically populate the hours on the correct day for holidays. You don't need to go back and do it. If I do need to go change it, though, as a manager, I can change, like, oh, this guy should only get 4 hours paid for whatever reason. I can go modify that if I need to. Okay, so when employees do request vacation, PTO, sick, whatever, it's going to automatically populate on the time card with the appropriate amount of hours. Okay, there's also a section here called time off up at the top. So with your 5 policies, no big deal. This is one of our strongest abilities, and that's simply because it's 100% custom designed for each company. And I've seen some crazy PTO policies. So I've never seen one that we can't handle. So this is just an example of what you're seeing on your screen. I've created these, 7 buckets, and I've labeled them whatever I want. You do the same. How many buckets do you need, and how does each bucket earn time? And there's 2 ways, essentially, right? There's a lump sum, meaning at the beginning of the year or their anniversary, when they start, I give them 80 hours of PTO and maybe 30 hours of sick. And they just have to use it or lose it throughout the year, or maybe I allow them to roll some over into the following year. Again, you just tell us. The second way is they earn it, right? They accrue it. So it's an accrual policy. And there might be an array of different factors that change based on how long you've worked here for, how many hours you work a pay period, whether you're full-time or part-time, doesn't matter. You just tell us how they earn that PTO, and these boxes will automatically update at the end of each pay period as I earn PTO and I meet that criteria. Right? So when I want to request paid time off, I've got a calendar here I can reference, check to see what other employees have days off. If it's just my department, it'll be just employees within my department or my location, or maybe it's just me. I can't see anyone else. Again, up to you. And then I can quickly request time off. And I just select a date that I want to take off. I select, here's the bucket that I want to pull those hours from. Here's how many hours I want to take. And here's why. I'm going to Vegas, baby. So once I submit this time off request, it's recorded in the system and it's going to sit in pending. My direct supervisor or whoever is a part of your approval process is going to receive an email letting them know that an employee has just requested time off. Managers can quickly approve it or decline it, and then an email will come to follow, and it will fall into the approved or the declined category.
Can they request negative PTO?
That's up to you, yeah. If you want them to be able to go into the negative and then they can earn it back, absolutely.
Well, not yes and no. So we use an accrual process. They're allowed to carry over X number of hours based on policy. And then those hours may or may not expire also based on policy. But if somebody has used all their PTO in 2019 and we in 2020, let's go with that. And so it's January of 2021, they haven't accrued enough PTO yet, but they want to go ahead and request PTO for July 4th. So they want 40 hours and they only have 2 hours. And we're not going to let them go 40 hours negative, but they want to request 40 hours that they will be negative when they request it, but not by the time it gets here. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Up to you. Yeah. It might be a little bit harder to track on your end, but yeah, absolutely. You can set it up however you want.
Why would it be difficult to track on my end?
Simply because you've allowed them to request it. So the request is in, but there's no hours to show that they've gone into the negative unless you want it to show in the negative. If you were to run a report, what is that report going to show you? It's not going to show you an active total. It's not going to show you a negative number. So there's a couple different ways that our implementation team would want to set that up so it's best for you. And they may offer a different way to track the negatives as far as putting in like a unpaid box, right? So you can still request the time, even though you haven't earned it yet because it's 6 months in advance. So I've requested that.
So how do people request future? So at the first of the year, I've got 15 people in a single department and they all want Christmas off. So they're all going to start requesting it off. And none of them have earned it yet.
Correct.
But you need to go ahead and start getting it put in there so that a new person comes in and says, oh, this has already been requested. I'm not going to get this.
Yeah, happens all the time. It's nothing outside the ordinary. I'm just simply saying there's going to be a couple different visibility options that you will be able to choose from. And as far as going into the negative, is it unpaid? Is it not unpaid? Right? There's so many variables, but trust me when I say no matter what you want the system to do, it will allow you to do it. No problem. Okay? It's just keeping track of that is what we want to do because this total does not change in any box until I've physically taken the time off. And the reason we do that is so employees can still withdraw their requests. So I may request Christmas off, but something happens and now I don't need it. Well, now I can withdraw my request. So now it's removed from the calendar, it's removed from pending, and my total has not changed. So this total is accurate to the date.
Okay.
Okay? On the manager's side, on the bottom of each employee time card, it'll show you the accurate total to date, and it will also show you planned time off in the future. Okay? So you'll just have a couple different visibility options, that's all. Okay, so the PTO is no problem. It's extremely simple. The employee portals, the time cards, it's all simple. And everything that we just looked at is available on a mobile app. So you said that you've got some employees that you want them to use a computer, done. Other employees, you want them to use a mobile phone, you just specify, and we give them access to punch on their mobile phone. Everyone else that's using a computer, they can still use the app, but they can't clock in and out. Because clocking in and out is just one feature on the mobile phone. But I've got my time card, and I can do everything that we just looked at, send notes, approve, whatever. I've got my time off section. I've got a calendar to view. I can see my totals. I can submit time off requests, everything. But I can't clock in or out. I have to do that through a computer.
Is there geofencing for the mobile app?
Yes, there's geotagging and geofencing. So it's not constant tracking. It's not going to show their, path throughout the day. It only records their location through Google when they punch the clock. And then it'll give you... I'm sorry?
That would work. That's fine.
Yeah. The constant tracking, unless it's company property, it teeters on the line of compliance. So that's why we don't do that. So, but each time they punch a clock, GPS or Google will record a location. It'll give management a physical address. And then the geofencing allows you to take one area or 100 different areas and put an imaginary circle, a fence around that area. And then if employees move outside that area, we flag that punch and we email management to let them know, hey, a mobile phone was used by this employee, but they're outside the designated area. So you've got complete control and insight there.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, I have a group of people who work on site at a client location, and right now someone submits their time in our internal system, and that would still happen. I would just really love for those employees to be able to also do their own punches as backup. And so we would want them to be on site at that location when they were doing that. So that would work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we don't prevent anyone from punching. All of our case studies show that when we prevent employees from punching in if they're outside a designated area, it just leaves the door open for dishonesty, but it also creates more work for management because now there's a missing punch. I have to go find out when that employee actually arrived, and they can tell me a different time, and then I have to go in and manually fix it on the time card. So if they're outside the area, we still allow them to punch, and then we just flag it, and then notify management. So then it can be quickly identified and addressed with the employee. Okay, so that's the employee side. Super simple, super easy. You just control which employee uses which clock, and that's it. They just clock in and out every day. What will happen is all that time will pool together in your manager's portal here. And again, this is just a website, right, that I bookmark, and then we give you management credentials, and you land on your dashboard. And then this is really simple to navigate. On the left is your menu. And you've got a main menu, time cards, a maintenance, a reports, and a settings menu. So there's a lot in here, but it's all designed to do the same thing, and that's just show me the employee time cards so I can manage them, prepare them for payroll, run a report so I can get the information into payroll. That's it. So
what about the people that don't punch?
if the people don't punch, their only option on the employee side is to manually record their time on a time card, meaning I give them manager access on their employee time card.
No, I just need them to confirm. So my salaried employees, I don't need them to, at this point. Now, Lori may tell me that this is going to change, but at this point, I don't need to know what time they work each day. I just need them to confirm that they worked their 40 hours this week, or they took time off this week, whether it was for jury duty or bereavement or holiday or vacation or whatever. I just need them to confirm, yes, I worked, or no, I had PTO and here's the day.
So that's...
I don't need them to commit to specific times. We don't, with salaried, we don't do that now, and unless Lori tells me that changes, that doesn't change.
So in theory, that would be done outside of Swipeclock because they're not punching.
So then how do I track their PTO?
So that's where Swipeclock would come in, is we would add them into the system so we could track their PTO. And then they can submit time off requests, and that will populate on their time card. Right? And then whatever your process is to find out if they are working that time, we can do that. But I have plenty of clients that have a salaried employee. So if I come to my salaried guy, which is myself, I can pre-populate hours on their time card, 8 hours. I can also tell the system when that employee is supposed to work, right? Here's what time they work 7 to 3 or 8 to 4, 9 to 5, whatever. And they still want employees to clock in and out. So they can say, hey, I'm paying you salary for 40 hours a week, punch a clock. Your salary's not going to change, but I want to make sure that you're working 40 hours and not 25, 26. So that's really common. It's becoming more and more common. So it's up to you. You can put them in here. We can track their PTO. They can submit time off requests. We can populate hours worked. And then you could even put a schedule in here and have them punch in and out. However you want to do it is completely up to you. And that may change, right? So you may set it up one way today, may not like it. Call us back. We can change it. Okay, but they'll still have the ability to use their mobile phone. And the only thing that they're going to use in their mobile phone is the pay time off. Same with their online portal. The only thing they're going to use is the PTO. And then when those requests are made, their vacation hours will populate on their time card. And then when you run a report, if you include those salaries employees on that report, it will show you the days that they took their vacation.
Okay, but those are or are not getting approved.
I'm not quite sure I know what you mean.
So a salaried employee requests PTO and it shows up on their time card. Is their manager still approving that PTO?
Yes. So all PTO requests, in order to populate on the time card, they need to be approved or declined. Otherwise, if they're left open, then it's just left open, right? It's not going to pre-populate on their time card. It's not going to remove the hours from their totals, and it's not going to show up on any reporting because basically it's just an unaddressed pay time off request.
Okay, so but salaried employees don't have to confirm their time every week or every pay period.
Okay.
They're only using this for PTO.
So if they're only, but they still have to get their PTO approved, right?
That's a question. So if salaried employees are only using this for PTO and they're not confirming their time every week.
When you say confirm their time, I guess I'm not quite understanding.
I have employees who are going to submit PTO at the first of the year for umpteen different days throughout the year.
Okay.
If they've got their PTO submitted and their managers approved it,
Okay.
and then they submitted PTO for July 4th, and they came up on August 7th and wanted to take PTO, and it shows a negative balance, and they say, oh, I didn't take that time in July. How do I fix that?
Well, that's a good question, because it deals a lot with your own process, right? So this system.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying. So if they're not confirming, so once they've requested PTO and it's approved, then
It's approved.
in the regular process of preparing payroll,
Mhm.
there's nothing forcing salaried employees to confirm time.
No, I guess I guess I still don't understand. So if a salaried employee at the beginning of the year requests all their PTO in one day, and it's just, I want to take 5 days in July and 6 days in October and 10 days in December, it's going to show in the manager's portal in the time off request section. So every single request is going to come and sit in a pending state for managers to review and approve. Once managers review and approve it, it's going to show up in a couple different places. The first place is on the employee side. Where is it? Right here. Nope. Right here. Employees can go to their time off section and have a record right here of what's approved and the dates that they've requested. Okay, so it's already been approved by management, so that's a confirmation on the employee side and management side. It's going to show right here.
What does that look like once we're past the time and it's been taken now? It's no longer a pending or approved, it's actually been taken.
So on the management side, it just looks like a vacation day. So if I go to Harry here and I go back a pay period, it's going to show vacation on their time card and how many hours they took. If for whatever reason they come back to management and say, I didn't take this time off, management can edit or modify, and they can change this. So, but that's only up to a certain point, right? Because our system is designed to, after 90 days, lock down time cards. You can unlock them, but the reason behind that is to preserve the data. So that way, 6 months down the road, management can't come in here, or they can, but go and change something that would affect payroll and numbers from 6 months ago. So we call that a finalized pay period, right? The pay period's closed, everyone's been paid, it's finalized. Now you can unlock it and go change things, right? But it's going to mess with reports and whatnot. So you can still go back in and change it if you want. And if you do change it here, it will update the totals in the portals here, because they've requested time according to our system. They took it because it's past that date. They then come back a week later or the next day and say, oh, I ended up not taking yesterday off, or days off in the prior week. Management then goes in and changes, right, the vacation time, right? Maybe it's regular and it's 0. So now the system says, oh, okay, this employee did not take any time off. We're going to throw those hours back into their bucket so they can be used at a later time. Does that answer your question?
Sure.
I don't feel that it did.
I don't really know that you're understanding my question, but let's just moving on.
Okay. I will try to address it as best as possible. Does it, Lynn or Craig, Can you guys help at all?
I may not be asking it correctly, and it may not be a question. So we'll keep moving forward, and I'll see if it's still a question later.
Okay. So again, I mean, PTO is easily addressed. Whatever your process is, the system can handle it. So I guess that may be where the disconnect is however employees confirm or approve time on your end, it just needs to be changed in this system, whether it's automatic or if you're manually going in and changing it, right? But the confirmation outside of it, that's going to ultimately dictate what changes in here. So, but standard time off requests, right? Again, they're just going to populate in here, and it's going to give you all the information. So when the request was made, by which employee, what bucket they're pulling from, the day or days they want off, how many hours, and then what they have available. So if someone were to come in here and request time off, but they don't have enough PTO, I can change it and say, nope. Or I can give them 4 hours. Or I could come in here and say, well, you don't have enough vacation, but if you wanted to pull it from a different bucket, we could do it that way as well. So management is complete control of how PTO is managed.
Well, let me just interject for 1 second. So, Anita, if you're concerned about, let's pretend like we ran payroll and a salary person got paid for vacation they didn't take, we can always correct it on our end in the payroll system, you know, and move those hours out of the vacation bucket into the salary regular bucket. I mean, we can always make adjustments if you find out, you know, somebody didn't actually take the time off. Does that help?
I get that. I know, I understand that part.
Okay. Do you want to try? I really feel like I want to try and address this question.
Like you said, I may not be asking it correctly, so let's just keep going. And if it is really a question, I'm sure I'll ask it a different way.
Okay. Well, the rest of the system is really straightforward, right? So most of your time is spent in the time card section, and that's just reviewing either single day entries, or I can look at an entire pay period as a whole, and it will give me a list of employees to select their time cards. And this list will give me information. So if their name's in red, I know that there's a mistake, so there's a missing punch, and that's what this first column represents. So mistakes are quick and easy to find and see, right? So it'll tell you, did they forget to clock in? Did they forget to clock out? Missing out punch, right, on Thursday. So they clocked in at 7, but there's no out punch. So I could easily come in here, hit the edit button, and add the time that they left, and then leave a note for other managers to see. And then I can quickly save that. And now that mistake is gone, and Harry's name will turn blue on the left. So that's primarily what will be happening in here, besides running reports and managing PTO requests, is just reviewing the time cards, and it's just like the employee side. So everything is totaled out. It'll show you what time they're clocking in, what time they're clocking out. If they're taking lunches, you'll see what time they start, what time they stop, how long they were, you know, hours for the day, as well as overtime. If overtime is an issue and we need to track that, we just tell the system what's considered overtime, and then it'll have an associated column. And then there's daily report that we can send you, and it will show you the previous day's activities, hours worked, if any overtime was hit, overtime for the week, for the pay period, for the month. So it's a very easy way to stay on top of overtime, as well as these banners that separate out your work weeks. So when we're looking at a time card, we are looking at an individual pay cycle. So in the top right-hand corner, it'll show you the cycle that we're looking at. And this is the 1st through the 15th of September. And then the banners just separate out our work weeks. And this one is a standard Sunday through Saturday. Right? So we can tell these banners to read different things over time, if they're coming close, if they're approaching, if they've hit it. And then everything at the bottom is calculated out, as well as the PTO for managers to see. So here's, as of today, what they have available. And then if they've requested future PTO, here's what they've have requested. So when employees go in there at the beginning of the year and they request Christmas off, it'll show you, here's how much they have today, here's how much they have planned. So that's what I meant earlier as just visibility. We don't want to get it confused, because this will stay the same because they physically haven't taken their planned time off yet.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, so editing time cards is very simple. You've got the, on the left column here, you've got the missing punches column, you've got the edit column. So if I have to continually modify or change something on a specific time card, you can kind of keep a running total of that. And then the approval process is this last column, the A's. And on the time card itself, you'll notice these little green and yellow figures. So we can have a 3-layered system. I only have 2 layers turned on. So you've got the employee, that's level 1, a supervisor, which is layer 2, and then an HR or office manager, whatever, would be layer 3. So when an employee, you'll see here, they've approved their time card, the little figure turns green. We just modified Harry's time card. There's no mistakes. His name is blue over here on the left. So I can come in here and approve the entire time card. And then my little supervisor figure will turn green. So a very good way to delegate out responsibility. Hey, here's your location. Here's your employees at your location. You can manage just that group, fix their time cards, get it ready for payroll. So by the time I log in, this is all done, right? So we only have to submit hours one time when we're working with Tryon. So once the time cards are complete, I go to my reports menu. So I just go back to my main menu, and then down at the bottom, I select my reports menu. And we give you, I think, like 20 reports standard. But don't be alarmed, they're all extremely simple. So you can run a report for accruals. So if you wanted to get a more accurate and just consolidated view of all the PTO and accruals for the staff, run a report. If you wanted to see a time off request report, so I could throw all my employees in one report and I could see all the days off that they've requested all at once. And then I could run like a time card report and look at the difference, right? So that could be a way to confirm as well if you wanted to run a report and see if it matches with time card entries. And then the summary report down here at the bottom is by far the most common for payroll. And so this just allows me to select the pay period that I want to view, and I don't have to change anything else unless I want to filter by location, department, or a specific employee. It'll just run a report and show me employees with total hours worked. And then all I do from here is save this report in a format for Tryon, and it's DNet. And it's just a quick import export of information. So no manual entry, just a couple of minutes, make sure this report is accurate, and then export it out, and then you can import it through the CSV, right? So I can quickly throw this into a spreadsheet if I needed to manage anything else. So earlier you mentioned per diems. We could put per diems in here and they would show up in the reports for payroll. That is an option. And if the per diems are managed by employees, we could use a clock prompt. And they could go in, whether it's a daily per diem or weekly per diem, and they could go in there and say, I spent $25 today. And it will actually show up on their time card. If it's just management facing, we can create an additional column like I've got up here, charge account wage. We would just label it per diem, and then I could come in here and add, my per diem.
Is there a way for me to import that?
Sure is. We just align different pay categories with payroll. So a pay category traditionally is regular, overtime, sick, holidays, but some people throw in bonuses, commissions, per diems. And so DNET or payroll is set up with all these different pay categories. And we just say, per diem is pay category 6. And so when we see that pay code in a report, it's just going to align it with the appropriate code in payroll and throw it to the appropriate employee.
And what about allowances, like a car allowance?
Same thing, same idea. You just need to decide, is it management responsibility in facing, so employees can't see it, they can't interact with it, or is it something that employees can input information in, and then management can, of course, review it, and then whatever I show up here, so any of these additional categories, so location over, those are all custom. So we can input as many categories as you want. We want to keep the time card simple, so it's not too cluttered. But yeah, you could throw anything in here, and you can set it up so there's drop-down options for your managers or yourself to select from, or you just leave it open as a form fill, so I can type in whatever I want. And then when I run a report, I just filter and look for that specific information. So if I just run a summary report, which additional data fields do I want to include? So yours would say per diem, car allowance, and I would just select those fields, and it will show up on the report. And that's it. Super simple.
Do you have any questions, Anita? Or anything we didn't cover that you're thinking about?
Did we lose her?
No, I'm here.
She's speaking.
So in one of our office locations, the employees submit their time and the manager approves it. What happens if the manager didn't approve it by the time I get to processing payroll? Do I have the ability to approve it?
Yes. So the approval process is not mandatory. It just leaves the door open for a miscommunication. In the past, we used to put in a preventative measure where if the employee didn't approve it, the manager couldn't approve it, HR couldn't approve it. But it prevented, processing payroll. So we moved over and said, now it's just optional. The approval process is there to use, but if an employee forgets, a manager can still approve it. If a manager forgets, HR can still approve it. The goal is to get all three to approve it so everyone's on the same page. But if one party forgets, no problem. You can still run a report and finalize payroll. So it's not going to hinder the process whatsoever.
But this is really only for hourly employees.
It's for any employee, any manager who's a part of the approval process and who has access to it.
We do have a lot of clients that have their salary employees included in Swipeclock.
I don't see how they can't be. I mean, they have to be there for PTO.
Correct.
You'd be surprised. Some clients, they treat their salaried employees completely different than hourly, and they've got their own tracking mechanisms, so they won't load them into this system at all. I always recommend that you do, just so everything's all in one place.
We have to, no. We have to. If this is going to manage my PTO, they have to be in here.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And while the timekeeping piece for my hourly people is important, the time off tracking for the whole population is probably more important, because I actually, as manual as it sounds from when I'm collecting the hourly piece on Monday, that's not nearly, I mean, that's a drop in a bucket to how much time we spend tracking PTO.
Makes sense. It's a process. So this would make your process a lot smoother.
But non-punching employees, so the salaried employees, don't have to confirm that they worked that week. There's nothing here that makes them, if I worked. No, I didn't work.
Unless you want it, no, not at all.
But if we want it, then it becomes a detailed daily thing, not just a, yes, I worked this week. No, I took 2 days off this week.
So they could use their notes to let you know that. Oh, where is it? Right here. So they salary still have a time card, it's just blank. But they could, once they request time off, right, it will show vacation. They could come over the top of that and leave you a note and say, yes, I took this day, no, I didn't, to confirm that. They can also use the approval process as a confirmation of, yeah, I worked 40 hours this week. So it kind of correlates with your own process, right? How do you want them to confirm? Verbal, through an email, through the system, so there's record, and they can use, again, their notes, right? They could come to the end of the pay period and leave you a note for the entire pay period and say, yeah, I worked 40 hours this pay period, or no, I fell a little short, I worked 36. So the confirmation on PTO is when they submit for that actual paid time off and it's approved by management, that would be a confirmation on both parties. Whether they actually took the PTO, whatever your process is, they could leave a note, or you can give them edit rights to this time card, just the salaried employees, because what are they editing? They're not editing any punches. So they could come in here and you could give them like a drop-down menu that says, did you take this time off, yes or no? So it just depends on what your process is and how the system can work best for you, but it's extremely customizable. So that's one of the best things about Swipeclock, is it's not off the shelf. It's not one size fits everyone. You know, we've got 50,000 plus clients and no two accounts are the same?
I'll have to talk to Dave, but yeah, I don't see whatever what caused the red flag last time, but I don't remember what caused the red flag last time. So, Lisa, I don't see any red flags this time, right off the bat.
Okay.
I'll talk to Dave.
Well, I will.
Yeah,
I'll send you the recording of today's call. I'll throw together just a little recap. I'll get with Lynn, and Lynn will present you some pricing. And then once you're ready to go, just let Lynn know. And right now, we're looking at about a 7 to 10 day setup. So it's a white glove service. So we set everything up for you. We get a list of your employees. We get all that loaded in. You'll work with one rep, and he'll contact you directly. And that's just the first call is gathering information. So if you've got your PTO or your vacation, you're sick, if you've got those policies written down, come prepared with those to the call because he will ask about them so we can design them properly. And then once we get your account all set up, then we train you and any other manager that will have access into the manager's portal. And then once the training is done, then we just say, oh, we would like to start, November 1st, November 2nd. And then we give you all the access and the passwords, and then you just roll it out to the staff and everyone starts using it.
Any final thoughts, Anita?
No, I'm good.
Are you
sure?
Yeah, I feel like you've got some reservations. So come on, don't be shy. Let's hear them.
Oh, I'm okay. I just need to take it all in. It may work.
There is a lot to digest. I assure you it will work. There will be a bit of a burn-in period, right? That's what I call it. And that's just a new system, right? You may get some kickback. There may be some tweaks. But as a part of our white glove service is the employee, what do we call it? Our customer excellence program. So everything's built. You've been trained. It's been live. For the first 2 months, you'll have one point of contact that will check in with you and address questions, make sure that the system is accurately tracking everything, just making sure that you feel comfortable and confident. And if concerns pop up, we address those, we nip them right in the bud. But yeah, this system, it will work. It will do everything that you want it to do. It's just identifying how we can improve your process without changing it completely, right? But this will streamline your process without a doubt. Okay. So I'll throw together a little email for you. I'll get that out. If you have any other questions, don't hesitate. Let either Lynn or myself know, okay?
I will.
All righty. Well, it was a pleasure, Anita. Lynn and team will be in touch. And would you like me to check back with you, Anita? Wait to hear back from you? How do you like to do follow-up?
I'll talk to Dave, and Dave will probably let Craig know.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. All righty, everyone. It was a pleasure. Have a nice day. We'll be in touch.
Thank you, Anita.
Thanks.
Okay, guys. See you soon.
Bye. Bye-bye.